Hello, and welcome to Shane's Microscope. I'm Shane, and this is my microscope. Let's take a peek. Last time, we looked at some paper fibers from common household items, but there's a whole world of specialty paper products out there. And unless you have a specific hobby or profession, then you might not come across very many of them. So I thought today we might have a look at some more specialty purpose paper products and see what's going on with them. This and the next few papers are kozogami, which means mulberry paper in Japanese. They're all fairly similar in structure, so I'm just going to talk about all of them together while the footage rolls, but I'll identify each one on screen. Now, kozogami are all made from the paper mulberry, though they're often incorrectly referred to as rice paper. Kozogami is a type of washi, which is traditional Japanese paper. Those characters literally translate to Japanese-style paper. They're made by hand, and they're more like cloth than paper. They're very useful in conservation work, which is what my wife uses it for. And that's because the fibrous nature of the paper makes it very strong for its thickness. So it can be made very thin, which means that it doesn't add a significant amount of surface texture or thickness to whatever you're repairing with it. The long fibers also make it very easy to blend because those edges create a gradual transition rather than a sharp edge. And this is why she never cuts that paper with scissors and instead tears it by hand, as I've done with all of these samples, because that gives you a nice soft edge to give you a soft transition. So the repaired part of whatever you're working on doesn't stick out like a sore thumb, because that would kind of defeat the purpose. Laid paper is another type of specialty paper that's literally been laid out on a mesh to dry, so it has a very distinctive texture. This was the traditional method of European paper making, so having laid paper samples on hand is useful in conservation work, because if you just match the color of the paper and not the texture, then the eye is still really drawn to that difference. This is a sample of sketch paper, which is generally well textured to be able to hold on to graphite and charcoal particles. There's also often a fair amount of opaquing agents and things of that nature to make sure that it's got the correct color tone. This sample is calligraphy paper, which superficially appears very similar to the sketch paper. It requires a very special sizing to prevent inks from bleeding and feathering. Sizing are small particles that get embedded within the paper fibers, and they help control the flow of inks through the matrix. Our final sample for today is a delicate task wipe, like a Kim wipe. Their primary purpose is to avoid producing lint, and they need to be free of any abrasive content that might scratch a delicate surface, so they are 100% raw wood fiber that's been thoroughly cleaned to remove any abrasive particles. I don't know quite what these larger pieces signify, but they're in there. Well, I hope that provided you an interesting view into a very small sample of the specialty paper products that are out there, but I thought it was interesting being able to look at them and see how they were different from a lot of the samples that we looked at last time for the more common paper products. Alright, well, I think we'll leave it there for the day. Thanks for having a look with me. Until next time, keep on peeking.